Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I am here today with my June 2021 wrap-up. Yes, I know I'm a little bit late, but then again, I've been on a break, Booktube break, so that's why I've been taking it very easy, like so easy you haven't probably seen an upload from me in ages. And even if you have, it will be because I filmed it a long time ago and I'm only just getting around to editing it. So it's going to be like this for a while. I'm going to just take my time to get things going in a particular way, in the way that I wanted, before I come back full force into Booktube. But I really want to do my wrap-ups and TBRs so that I can keep you updated with what's going on in my reading life. And there has been quite a bit going on in my reading life, and in June I finished 13 books. And of those 13 books, 2 were graphic novels, which I absolutely fell in love with. But yeah, there's a crazy mix of books in the June read list that I have, and I am here like, okay, can July be the same as well or even better? And I have a feeling that it's going to be even better. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you all the books that I read in June 2021. A quick reminder, if you'd like to buy any of the books mentioned in this video, then please use my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. It would be of immense help to me. Okay, so first up, the first 3 books I'm going to talk about in a whole bunch because they are the 3rd, 4th and 5th in a series that we discussed last month. And that is the 3rd, 4th and 5th books in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series by Rick Riordan. As you know, this series was the first Bookbound Book Club pick and we had so much fun discussing it. If you'd like to go check that video out, I'll leave the link here as well as in the description box below. But these 3 books were also so good on the reread. This follows Percy Jackson and his friends who are demigods, who are children of gods or goddesses and humans, and they have to fight all these monsters, and there's a titan uprising going on, and there's a lot going on in here which is filled with adventures and humor and teenage angst, and there's a lot to unpack in here and filled with Greek mythology. This is going to be a great series if you are still looking to pick the series up, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The 3rd book is The Titan's Curse, the 4th is The Battle of the Labyrinth, and the 5th is The Last Olympian. And now I want to get on to Heroes of Olympus, but I don't have them. I just might get them. I gave The Titan's Curse 4.25, The Battle of the Labyrinth 4.5 stars, and The Last Olympian a full 5 out of 5 stars. You're seeing the progression, and these ratings are better than when I read them the first time around. So next up is the subscriber pick for the month of June, and I won't go into much detail for this because I have a feeling like you will already have seen that subscriber pick review video already. So I'm just going to say that the book I read and loved and cried over was Tuesdays with Mori by Mitch Albom. This is the story of Mitch who reconnects with his old teacher when after losing touch for years, and he finds out through television, through news, that his teacher is suffering from ALS, and he goes to meet him, to meet Mori, and how he learns a lot of things even when Mori is on his deathbed, and the lessons he imparts, and how he sees the world, and how he isn't afraid to embrace his emotions. Mori, I mean. Mitch Albom's books are always so easy to read but also so heavy. They are heavy with emotions, they are heavy with simple meanings, and I don't know how that sits well together, but it does, and that's why this is such a beautiful book. Like, I lost my mind. I like cried. If you will already have seen the vlog, there's a clip of me like getting I don't have words to say. I'm literally speechless. or maybe I edited it out because I didn't want to look like a blubbering idiot, but this book makes you that, and it's very good. I gave Tuesdays with Mori 4.5 stars. Next up is The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi, and this is a book that you asked me to do a review of, and I'm hoping to film one in these next few days. And this is the story of Lakshmi, who has escaped an abusive marriage and escaped her village post-independence, and she is now in Jaipur, and she is now a henna artist, and she does a lot of other things as well, and she is making a name for herself. And when she is in this whole business booming kind of situation, her sister, who she didn't know existed, she turns up from the village and tells her that their parents are dead, and now Lakshmi is the only family she has, and now Lakshmi has to contend with her business on the side and taking care of her sister, and to make this whole business thrive while keeping a hold on her family, on the only family she has, because she doesn't know her sister at all, because she had no idea she existed until she landed up on her doorstep. Lakshmi wants to come up in life, and she wants to establish a business of her own. It was a very fast-paced read for me, and I really liked it to the most extent, but I also had certain issues. Like, my favorite part of the book was Malik. The kid is great. I loved him. Having the emotional support of that child, it sort of felt very crucial to the story. And what I did not like was Alka Joshi sort of catering to white audiences. So taking Indian words, taking Hindi words and turning them into something that's not them, just to give them a sort of flowery feeling. For example, for the name of the goddess Saraswati, she writes Swaraswati. I mean, I can see why you would write Swaraswati, but it's not that. Don't at least mutilate the name of the goddess, maybe. So that's one issue I had. And then Radha, who is Lakshmi's sister, is a total brat, and Lakshmi is so self-blaming, and to see this whole thing come out that way, it wasn't a great experience. That was like, it nagged at the back of my head. I'm going to give this a 3.75 stars. Next up is Funny Boy by Shyam Selvadurai. This is the story of RG, who is growing up in Sri Lanka in the late 1970s, and towards the time of the Sri Lankan riots between the Sinhalese and the Tamils, and he is trying to figure out his own sexuality. He's trying to figure out his own connection with the people around him, and how he sees everything, and how he sees relationships, what exactly it is that he wants to be. And there's so much in here, right from figuring out one's sexuality to politics, and when these two mingle with each other, added to the mix is also relationship with RG's own family, and this whole thing makes this a very potent, very strong commentary about how people can be affected, and how people can change, and how people need that space to figure oneself out. But the main thing is that as a child, RG, when you see him move around with kids of his own age or his own cousins, there's this sort of protective feeling that you get for RG, and you are going like, I don't care if the other person is a kid, but if you bully RG, I'm not going to stay quiet. That's the sort of feeling that this book evokes in you. The writing is that beautiful, and it just pulls you into the story, makes you part of the story, makes you part of RG's life, and it just makes you want to protect him at all costs. That's how it should be, right? Children are children. They need to be protected. They shouldn't be put in front of things like political chaos, or brought in between the conflicts between adults. They need to be protected. They need to be given that sense of security, love, warmth, and that's what it has to be, the space to grow, the space to understand themselves. And I know that things are a lot better now than they were back then, and to see the things as they were, it's sort of it made me shed a tear or two, or maybe 100. I don't know, I can't, I just, it's so good. Just people read this book. I mean, I can't recommend this book enough. Just, it's great and everybody should read it. I gave this book 4.5 stars. Next up is another hard-hitting book which I started in May but I finished in June, and that is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This is the story of Cora, who's a slave in a plantation in Georgia, I think. And one day another slave called Caesar approaches her and tells her that there's this underground railroad using which slaves can escape and become free people. They can go to the free counties or free states, and they set out on that journey. And now you would think that setting out on the journey on the Underground Railroad is going to be pretty easy for Cora, but it is fraught with tensions. There are so many obstacles that they have to undergo. Just as they begin to relax, they sort of get hit with a different curveball altogether, especially because a slave catcher called Ridgway is on their tracks. And how Cora goes through this whole thing, I mean, I sort of want, the reason why it took me so long to read this book is because it was this hard hitting, because it felt to me that this is a book that builds on the pain of so many black people throughout time. And to see this story, to read this story and to see Cora go through whatever she goes through, and every black person in this, not just the main character, because we are reading this from Cora's perspective, but there are so many others who are going through so many things, and the callousness of owners, and it makes me so angry, that callousness, to see it. I cried. I cried and I couldn't pull my feelings back in, because it was that, I wouldn't say again hard hitting, but it was, I was just disgusted, and I felt so helpless because I couldn't do anything. And I must say that this isn't a book that has the responsibility of educating anyone about how it was back then, but it does it to a certain extent, at least, because that's what happens with fictional books, that you can learn a lot of things, but there are things that you need to learn on your own as well. You need to do your own research as well. So this is one such book that lays a very firm foundation or very firm base for what you need to know, and that way you'll get there. If you want to learn about anything in particular, it's just a great book. I'm just saying that this is a very hard-hitting, heartbreaking book, and everybody should read it. Please go and read this book. I mean, it's totally out of habit that I've given this book a star rating. I gave this 4.5 stars. Next up is Kunte by Koral Dasgupta. This is the second in the Sati series by Koral Dasgupta, the first one being Ahalya. And this is the story of Kunte, who is a sort of a matriarch in the Mahabharata, and this follows her story from before her marriage to Pandu. And then it follows up, and it also goes through her marriage, and then how she deals with Pandu and his new wife as well, and how she has brought it all together with such incredible strength and integrity, and with the knowledge that there's so much more to the world than what she is seeing and how she is seeing, and her attachment to the huge love of her life, the bigger love of her life. It's great to read, and I really enjoyed reading it because it was so compelling. The narrative, Koral Dasgupta's writing is like that. It is very beautiful. Although at one point I felt that gravity wasn't there. It felt like the author was only trying to make it more flowery and to make it into something that you needn't have in order to put your point across. And she arm twists language at one point, and she sort of tries to make it fit into places that it doesn't want to go into. But then again, that's why language exists. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But this is a great book. I mean, I can't wait for the next in the series. Like, I think it's going to be Draupadi. I'm not sure which one, but I'm so looking forward to it and I cannot wait. I gave this book 4.25 out of 5 stars. All my next reads were either ebooks or audiobooks, and the next book is The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert. Yes, no, I couldn't stop myself from reading another Talia Hibbert book because she writes so well. But this was written way before the Brown Sister series came, and you can see that rawness to it, but you can see that there is that recipe that you find in the Brown Sister series. It's still there in here. And this is the story of Jasmine and Rahul, who are best friends, but you know what's going on between them, the equation that they share. Jasmine is a sort of a woman who's like, I don't need relationships. Like, she doesn't want to think on those lines. She doesn't want commitment, and there's a lot of other reasons why she doesn't want commitment. You'll have to read the book to find out. But Rahul is a kind of sweet guy. Jasmine, her room is flooded. She's living with a roommate, but her room is flooded and her roommate does nothing, and everything she owns is sort of drenched. So now she needs to move out for a bit while her room is being renovated, or whatever you want to call it. And she moves into Rahul's house, and he's the only guy who she can think of to call. And what happens when they start living together, and what happens when lines begin to blur forms the entire story. And I enjoyed reading this, but it wasn't as gripping as the Brown Sisters series. Like, I loved Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but and I know it's not fair to compare two works of one particular author, but somehow I felt like this was a sort of a stepping stone towards where Talia Hibbert would eventually get. Like, I see the beautiful writing, I see the humor, I see the wittiness, I see the sarcasm, I see the bond between these two best friends, and it's a sort of thing where you're like, I know what's going to happen, but I don't know how it's going to happen and what obstacles are going to come in their way. So it's exactly for that you must read this. And I still gave this a 3.75 stars, so I found it gripping as well, because Talia Hibbert, you can't go wrong with Talia Hibbert and adult romances. And this is also one that's great. Like, best friends to lovers trope, this has it down, hands down. Next up is an audiobook that I read on Libro FM, which is called The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. Thank you, Libro FM, for this ALC. It was so great. I love this book so much. I mean, you know, John Green is one of my favorite authors of all time, and he wrote this non-fiction in which he literally reviews the human age. Like, the age that we are living in right now, he reviews it and he gives everything star ratings, and he's talking about some profound things, some simple things, some very run-of-the-mill things that you wouldn't think to pay attention to, but he gives all his attention to it, and he talks about his connection to it and how it affected him, and for some other things how it's affecting us as a whole, how it's affecting humanity as a whole. And he talks about this in such a funny manner. You know, John Green is funny, his books are funny as well, and the way he talks about some topics, he takes some really inane thing and he turns it into something very profound and something very deep. And to see that happen, and to listen to him talk about it and to narrate the book to me, it was great. Like, at one point he talks about a hot dog eating contest, and then he immediately it veers off into the territory of dealing with racism. Maybe just go read this book because it's that great. It's like, I can't even begin to explain to you what this book exactly meant to me, because it felt like he was taking a peek into my life and he wrote certain things that I thought I was the only one to experience, because each human's experience is different from the next and all that. But no, there are also things that are universal. Like, many people know what it's like to feel those certain things, and I felt those things, and John Green caught those things and he spoke about them, and in such a great manner. I want a paperback copy of this book now, because I know I'm going to reread it because it's that great. I gave the Anthropocene reviewed a full 5 out of 5 stars. It's great. Go read it. It's just great. Next is a novella. And through this, I sort of started on the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon, because this novella is The Pale Dreamer by Samantha Shannon, obviously. Okay, so The Pale Dreamer is set in a futuristic London, like it's set in 2059 London, and it follows Paige Mahoney, I think her name is. There are a sort of mime lords and supernatural stuff going on, and she works for this certain mime lord. She is like 16 years old and she works for this mime lord, and she is a clairvoyant, and the groups that are working over here, they work with ghosts, and they work with how to put them to rest or to bring them into their own territory or something of that sort. The details are not that clear because it takes some time to get into, so which is why I'm planning to start the Bone Season soon. I don't know how soon that will be, but this was good. I wouldn't say it was the best sort of prequel novella, but it was good. It didn't give out a lot of details, as I was led to believe. I was led to believe that this book is going to be a great introduction to the Bone Season universe. But it was good, but it was not great. I didn't find that many details. I mean, while I was reading it, I understood what was going on, but now while I'm trying to recollect, it's like, maybe I'll have to read it again. But maybe follow it up with the Bone Season series, and I'm telling myself that. I'm really not sure what rating I gave this. I think more of a 3.75 stars. That would fit better, but maybe I'll bring it down to 3.5 soon. I don't know. And the last 2 books that I read in June were graphic novels, which I read on Webtoons. Like, yeah, I did that. Like, I wanted to show off, so I read them on Webtoons, and now I'm saying that I read 2 graphic novels. The first and the second in the Hearthstopper series by Alice Oseman. And I love these kids so much. Nick and Charlie are the absolute best. Like, this is the story of Nick and Charlie, who are sort of, Charlie has been outed, and everybody in the school knows that he's gay, and Nick is still trying to figure out his own sexuality. They become friends, and how their relationship progresses forms this entire story. I don't want to say anything else because you need to go and read the mushiness, the wholesomeness, the warmth, the goodness that Alice Oseman puts into these characters, puts into this story, and it's just great. I'm not going to say anything else about it. Like, you can see that I'm trying very hard not to gush, and I might just start singing pains to it, but you will get pains if you hear me singing, so I'm not going to do that. But I need paperbacks of this book. Why are they so expensive? They're either expensive or not available. What should I do? Go read these. Go read these books. They're amazing. You can read them on Webtoons, and yeah, it's just so wholesome. I think I gave both of these books full 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not sure. I think I did, because they're so wow. So those were all the books plus the ebooks and audiobooks that I read in June 2021. Which of these have you read? Which ones did you like? Which ones did you not like? Which ones do you want to add to your TBR? Which ones do you want to add to your wish list? And if you'd like to buy any of these books or of the other ebooks mentioned, then please use my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. It would be of immense help to me. And let me know in the comments what you thought of this video and what you thought of any of these books. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.